Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Conoric.
I'm Ringru, low.
And folks, today we are on Shchedrin. Rang, who do we have? What do they bring into the fray?
Well, on left-hand side in the blue, we have ourselves Robert playing as the 1st Romanian Armored Division with a Maverick income. Right-hand side in the red, we have AmberT playing as 3rd VDV with a Juggernaut or Balanced income.
A Joker balanced income, folks. That's a new one they're testing right now, coming to you soon in a new DLC. So how is this going to shake out? The Romanians, I always love myself some Romanian stuff going on here, but how's it going to go up against the 3rd VDVDVC? Like, what's going to go on?
Well, the main thing is the income difference, of course. Robert really needs to win in the first 20 minutes or so, while AmberT just needs to try and survive for 20 minutes. The infantry assortment is pretty interesting, as AmberT is spamming Maxim guns and Desert keys, so dedicated long range and dedicated short range infantry. So I'm wondering how the southern towns are going to go, considering AmberT is just pretty much mostly just SMG spam scrotch.
True, but I think if there's any place that this could potentially work, it would be in this kind of town's material.
Yeah, this is the perfect spot. You use some of the buildings with Maxim guns, you have some T-34s. It could work out pretty well, and we're seeing an IAR doing a bombing run already, getting some good kits. Great if he followed up with an infantry to get a surrender, but alas, that's not going to happen.
I think it's enough that the idea is theoretically there. It's one of those things that's like, it's a suggestion. Will he take it? Willing to take it? We're not really sure.
Yeah.
And there's not Nikki over here doing what they do best, which is hiding in forests and hoping that the enemy comes to them.
Mm-hmm.
More distant Nikki is going to be sent in, thrown, hurled, if nothing else, really, on the southern side. Not really sure that I think that they have the greatest staying power, but, if the Romanians are just chilling, I mean, that'll work out well.
The Destiny key are only 15 points, and like 8 SMGs. It's a really good, they're very good for the price, and also having the Raiders trait makes them harder to kill. We are seeing a push across the lungs here. I mean, Robert managing to catch a few of them out in the open, and it's just going to come down to long range versus short range gameplay here.
I hadn't really thought about potentially using the Maxims so aggressively like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really quite fascinating, though. Mm-hmm.
He's gonna have to, because he doesn't really have any LMGs on his troops, so he's gonna have to make up with it with dedicated support MGs. The IL-2, was he trying to go after the IAR?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, that was a ballsy move. Anyway, he's gonna probably come back around and maybe blow up these Romanians. They're pretty bunched up here. It'd be a great target for a rocket strike.
It'd be a great target, but it's not going to happen. The BF-110 is going to just chase him away.
Yeah.
Now, there's also a T-34 here, and while the Romanian division isn't necessarily known for its anti-tank, its armored fighting vehicles, I don't know if the 3rd VDV is really something they have to be terrified of in the vehicle department.
No, it's really just a few T-34s and some Valentines. So the Stugs, Panzer IVs, and Rosetta, I don't think I properly say it, but I'm going to go with it, 75mm anti-tank guns are going to be more than enough in these open ground engagements. And it's where Robert really wants to try and take advantage. Use those tanks, use your armored forces, and try to make a breakthrough, because right now, he's not doing that. AmberT is getting a pretty good flag advantage over Robert, and I think that's really just due to the 7th flank Kriv. The hordes of Descent key in that town.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Gs.
And that's only like 165 points.
Yeah, absolutely is. So
cheaper than a King Tiger.
Yeah, which is a little strange at times. I understand why, but just it's crazy to kind of think that. Bird's eye view kind of shows you really how this is developing, and Shchedrin definitely has its problems. So I'm sure we can definitely heap tons and tons of recrimination on this map. But I would like to see some of these mortar tracks being sent on in. And we're not going to get the off-map 210 over here from the Romanians until Phase B. But you got to do something to start shifting these troops out of this town. You can't just sit there.
Yeah, he's really going to have to rely on good fire support in that town to even have a chance of taking it. I really think his best bet is just to hold what he has, set up a little bit of a better defense, and just try to make a spearhead up north. Like, try to play in this open plains area where he can use his tanks to a better advantage.
He is going to potentially clean up this Desant Niki, but I'm not still feeling particularly sanguine about the chances here. He's going to make a bit of a delayed push across the lungs as well. It's going to take it under fire very, very quickly, though, too. The Venatori Moto going to get hurt pretty badly here.
Yeah, just the Maxims definitely going to beat them out in a long-range firefight, especially considering the infantry are slap bang in the open here. We are seeing some armored support with the Stug tank, destroyer, assault gun, whatever you want to officially call it. But yeah, Herr Robert is considering, he's got that Maverick income. It doesn't seem like he's taking advantage of it. He's trying to pick where he wants to push, dedicating to an area to push.
And I would say, to be fair, but I think maybe he is trying to put that together, but I just don't know if he knows just yet where to push. And maybe that's the problem.
He does have the Stu-42 and the Stug in the central southern position, which would be a pretty good angle of attack to move him across and provide some fire support, and try to take his other lung. One point of taking the lung is that it's going to be a pain in the ass because of infantry, but if you secure it, you put your tanks on the edge, and nothing can really get too close to you, especially with AmberT's deck. AmberT's bringing out quite a few Valentines, but it's going to take him another 5 minutes to actually get to the front line.
And that crashing IAR almost took out his target. Unfortunately for him, there was a Palm 37 mil that took him out. IL-2 on the other side does go down, though, too, and those things are not the most expensive, but not the least expensive, so it's a really weird dichotomy.
85 points is definitely disposable.
Yeah, I don't know. I just... Aircraft have such a unique position overall, let's say, within the Steel Division kind of milieu, that for me it's one of those things that's I feel like an 85-point boondoggle of a bombing run always hurts me a little bit. I think it's just because I value my airplanes so highly. I don't know.
You're a much better airbase commander than me.
Yeah.
If they yeet the bombs off, if they get back, that's just a bonus.
Dude, I grew up playing games like Ancient War in the Skies, man. I know how hard it was to get those new planes. But even when I was facing Loop-de-Loop and Helmut Spike, man, that was a rough time.
I just played Commander and Conquer Generals and just kept throwing my, bombing aircraft right into the Chinese base and just kept blown up by anti-air every time.
You have a very, very unique way of pushing forwards into the fray, my friend.
Yeah, if you bring enough, eventually you kill them.
Are you sure you're not Russian? I know we talked about this on Tuesday about your strange British kind of hang-ups here, but are you sure you're not Russian?
No, what happens is that eventually the enemy reaches their designated kill counters and they shut down.
Oh my god, I was not expecting a Futurama reference here. Show them my medal.
But anyway, we're seeing these Vanatoris trying to push through these, southern central position, but AmberT with his line of Maxims all over the place is definitely going to shut down any pushes. I really do love seeing 3rd VDV because they have a really awesome infantry dichotomy, and I love how AmberT is playing it with Maxims and Desert keys. It's such a cool 1-2 combo as both units really rely on each other to work well, but we're seeing Herr Robert now, at the end of A phase here, actually beginning to get a pretty scary force. He's pushing the lungs, and he's pushing far up north. B phase, income's going to hit pretty hard. Going to have that lovely income advantage, so it's kind of going to be ride or die in the next 10 minutes.
BF-110's coming out again, but we have a Yak-9 coming in this time, so might see a kill? Landing gear damage? You don't need that anyway.
Yeah.
We've seen enough planes go down here. There's more of a suggestion than actual, rules. But so the IL-2 will limp away, which is good because you need to keep that anti-tank kind of platform in the central position. That the lungs are very much, I would argue, in Romanian hands.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely going to get quite smoky in there, and a little bit of all the pioneer assaults being brought in, and they are the perfect CQC counter to the Desert Iki. So not one, but two flamethrowers.
Yep, and with the 20 mil cannons sitting in support, yeah, that just shreds them.
Yeah, but the Valentines, I mean, give them another minute, they're gonna get right up here.
Oh yes, off map to the south, the 210. He's gonna limp his way in there, and you're gonna see a bit of a hell to pay down to the south. Unfortunately for him, he's not gonna be able to get his way back out because he's Yak 9. And there's no anti-air.
Oh look, AmberT realizes what's gonna happen, and he is evacuating his forces from the crisis zone. Gonna leave a few on the front line to hold the front line, so to speak. But if he's doing what I think he's doing, he's gonna pull back Destiny Key, wait for the artillery to do its nasty business, and then pull back into the ruins while his counter, or while her robot makes a push to set up a second line of defense.
Well, to the north in the meantime, while he's worrying about the southern side, yes, it's good. He's bringing a whole swath of Russian Desantniki to the north, but there's also a bit of a push going on there. And I say a bit of a push, there's actually a scary amount of material being selected.
Yeah. Yeah, one T-34 is going to have to do a lot of work trying to hold off his entire push here, but he's not going to be able to do that. And her robot tipping the flags over to a 14-10. If he can get that other lung flag, that'll be a 15-9. There we go. That's down south, yo.
He's going to lose the lungs, though. He's going to lose the right lung anyway. I mean, if he had just done more cardio, I imagine it'll be a little bit better for him. Yeah. But you can see right now, the Pioneer assaults are just kind of shifting back. Pretty good call here. I don't know, maybe the BF-110 would just strafe. No, I thought maybe he'd go after and start strafing that infantry. And we have those weird T-60s being brought on, and we don't see these guys very much. Not quite a Pinocchio crap, but it's awful close.
Yeah, it's a weird gun. It's funny because it's a Russian tank or a Russian gun on top, but only the Romanians thought it was a good idea to meld the two together.
And Desantnikis are getting shoved back by these Pioneer assaults.
Yeah, the two flamethrowers and forest fights like that are just absolutely deadly.
And with 6 flamers,
yeah,
they actually are going to take this. I thought this was not going to go their direction. Wow.
Yeah, Romanian infantry are kind of like a black horse. They don't really seem to be all that great on. Well, I guess the Pioneer assaults are a little bit different because it's just like 2 flamethrowers. But just in general, the nation, you just think it's all just mediocre stuff. And for the most part, a lot of the Romanian equipment is pretty mediocre. But they have some surprisingly very good infantry.
Yeah, just because the infantry was just so freaking brave, everything else was just kind of, let's call it lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see right now there's feeding more and more material over here to the north. There's your, resist the machine 75mm. More anti-air. In fact, that's the quad 20, so I'm super excited for that. That means that nothing is going to be flying to the north. And while this IL-2 is going to go start dropping rounds, I don't know if he's going to be successful more than just that run.
Oh.
And the P-Shrek, oh my gosh. The Venatori over here, this guy is beastly.
But he's not going to get in range, though, and the Destiny Iki DTs are going to be enough to force him back.
He took out one of the Valentines.
Oh, he did. I didn't see that.
Southern side,
correct.
The town just continues to be there. Looking back, there's 120mm mortars. That'd be a nice call. I actually really like that call. Ain't gonna happen though.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just seeing some desperate fighting over lungs. It feels like her robot was a little bit slower in fully capturing it because he can't afford to fight an attrition war on the hill. Because he does have the CQC infantry, but not to the extent of AmberT's 2 C-phase guards of Desantniki. He needs to completely capture the hill so he can start fighting long range from the edge.
That's certainly true. That's certainly true. Would be definitely helped out if his assault guns or weird tank destroyers that turned into something strange after the war, if they could be even more successful up to the northern side. And down to the south, a couple of opportunistic strafing runs from Yaks. Not what I expected. I mean, maybe he's just trying to go and pierce that first gap, and with that first gap gone, okay. We're gonna see a decent sneaky push here in the south. He's gonna work his way up to it. It ain't gonna be fast, but he's working his way up.
Yeah, I think mainly it's just trying to regain that one flag back to try and stem the bleeding, so to speak. I don't know if he's gonna. Oh no, he's bringing up more Destiny ET, so I think once he's DT'd up on the front line, he is gonna make that push.
Well, right now it's kind of absurd how many guys are right there. And unfortunately for the Romanians, the T-60s don't see this push. That would have actually been a great opportunity for them to just savage it completely.
Yeah, holy crap, the Destiny ET's in the center. Yeah, this is the true power of VDV. You thought everyone was thinking, oh, the Russians are going to be SMG spam before SD2 came out, and it was a little bit, but not too much. Third VDV come along, it's like, let's just make an entire division based on SMG spam. It's the only thing you get. And they're 15 points.
Well, man, that's screw Father Time, forget Father Christmas. Papa Shaw over here is the one who's gonna start costing some shit. Well, as say, man.
I never thought of that before. That's such a. I'm gonna use that one from now on. Thank you, Colin. That's going in the joke notebook.
The Papa Shaw's gonna start costing some shit. Oh yeah, definitely, man. And you can see right now the Venatori motos. We got Stews. We got more of those T-60s moving in. Really crazy pushes happening the other direction. But what the heck is to be done about this? Like, I don't know how the Romanians can push back on this. What can they do?
I love what they're doing up north. They're surrounding the Destiny keys with all their armored support. I mean, they got the T-60s in the sunk on the northern hill. They're trying to surround what's in the lungs. This is really beautiful armored play here, and it's working quite well. The infantry is scary, but I mean, the cut off from the lines is not too bad. The Destiny keys, they don't get that debuff from being behind enemy lines. But yeah, this is exactly what Robert needs to do, and he still has another 2.5 minutes of B phase to really take advantage of this.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that if he can be devastating enough and set up at least maybe a rough line on the lungs, that's going to be it. And right now the T-60s are actually able to do that, especially with the support of that 75 mil, which honestly we don't see it very often as an effective anti-infantry role, but this is actually a perfect time for it.
Yeah, the TACM T-60 is essentially just the Romanians got to the Su-76, but in a slightly different way. I believe even the Su-76 just used like a T-60 hull that was slightly elongated.
Well, we're seeing Valentine's in the meantime engaging this Stug. Meanwhile, it's kind of like Hello Moto over here. These guys are going to dump out, dive into these hills, this little complexes. And the TACOMs over here, or the TACAMs, or however you want to call them, really, taking some losses, but they exist in great enough numbers that the Valentines are not going to make it out easily.
Yeah, this is great. I'm very happy that Robert is dedicating so hard up north. I just worrying that he's going to focus down south, and yes, he can try to fight over these flags, but his best bet is, even if he loses that town, just as long as he controls that one flag on the edge, he's fine. That's really all he needs to do.
True. He's throwing some Pigrins in there, and he's got his light vehicles, and I understand that. And indeed, a lot of Anatories are there. IAR just going to clear up that hillside. Doesn't kill, but does pretty well. And there's just 2 Valentines left from this entire cauldron of death.
Yeah. And he doesn't have many Valentines left, I believe. And then in C phase, it's just like a handful of T-34 76s, so AmberT's armor game is not looking that strong. I mean, C phase, he does have these 2 guns, which are going to be pretty useful, but apart from that one kill in like the north area by his spawn, there's not really anywhere to really put the Sis-2s.
No, not even remotely.
And if Robert can continue to push where the Descent Comrati is, that'll be another lovely flag under his control.
We actually are going to get some... Wait. We're trying to see how this is working out. We are seeing... Yeah, it's going to be a very, very big push here in the south. I think this is the next major kind of inflection point. Yes, there's stuff to the north. That's a sideshow now. That has lost all real kind of big purpose. I think now for the rest of the game, at least for the conceivable future, I'm not going to say the rest of the game, but the conceivable future, we see a lot of play focusing here in the south.
Yeah, but even then, if Robert, if he can afford to lose one flag, he just needs to keep it at 915 at least. So he can easily control the flag on the bridge. You know, as he's making some pushes in the center, like southern central position, where he could actually pick up a flag or two if he continues. So even if he does lose the town entirely, he can still live. There he goes, flipping the flag a little bit in the southern central position, the Vanatories. If he just brought up a bit more armor, well, actually he does have the armor here, he can potentially kill his Descent Maxims and I'll descend on that area.
Well, he's at least going to get this BF 110's going to have its revenge on something. Maybe. Okay.
Maybe.
Or he's just going to... Oh, okay, no, it makes more sense. Yeah. Engage the guy who still has munitions.
Yeah.
He's going to go down, though, I think.
Yeah, it's not a great aircraft. It's definitely a little bit outdated by 1944 standards.
Oh, you're telling me, man. I've definitely played that, Oh my gosh, I can't think of...
IO2?
I was thinking War Thunder, actually. But
yeah, War Thunder, yeah.
Not the greatest flight characteristics, and more IL-2s are coming right back in. Northern side, I want to see how this actually looks. We have more Valentines brought in. Still, a lot of TACMs over here are down. There still were 8 of them on that card, so very, very successful in kind of holding the line for as long as that was needed. And that was a 35-point vehicle, so we're not talking a massive investment.
No. That's very good lot of spam vehicles. Like, AmberT is going to be able to flip back one of the flags on the hill with a small group of Destiny keys he still has under control. And this is where, I mean, if AmberT, he needs to try and get 1 or 2 flags now. I mean, time is on his side in terms of income. Points to win the match, that's a different issue.
Oh, very much so. But the thing is that his Desantnikis are going to run into the same issue that I think Russians have run into since time immemorial. You may have all of the planes, you may have all the men, but if you don't have the firepower up front, you have a problem.
Yeah, and he's really lacking in tanks now, and he doesn't have a whole lot of artillery to complement too. I mean, he does have access to the really overkill 200... Yeah, is it 203mm, the B4s?
Yes.
If he decides to, I don't think it's going to be all that helpful in this stage of the match. Well, especially if you look up north, it's barely anything red.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first thing I was going to make a note of. Ooh, Venatori Modus, okay. This is not Nikki, you're probably going to flip one of those flags back on the lung. Big deal. Congratulations, you're going to put it back to 15-9. But the one thing I've been surprised about is we talked earlier on about the great synergy between the Maxims and the Desantniki, and then he's completely abandoned it. Like, he's got 24 potential Maxims. Yes, I get that they're a little bit slower, but do you really want to spend the time with Desantniki troops without the kind of fire base to kind of move up underneath?
I think he's supplementing a little bit of Desantniki DTs, because the DTs at least are not as good long range, but they do have decent CQC capabilities instead, and he is just trying to fight over in the lungs, which is mostly CQC. Down south in the town, he could definitely use a few Maxim guns, I believe, especially against the Vanatories. But, I mean, her Robert is still keeping it 15-9, and if her Robert keeps it 15-9, he will be fine.
Absolutely, and that was a beautiful slam poetry right there. Almost as beautiful as the 75mm slamming shells to the northern kind of reinforcement of the DTs.
Oh.
We're going to get these brief instants in time, I think, where the remains might drop just like a 14-10 just for a couple of seconds here or there, but I think it's just basically until reinforcements get rushed back to the appropriate theater.
Yeah. Yeah, and at his point with the tickets being so low, even if it does go down to only a 1-tick points bleed, it's not that bad.
As it stands currently, no. And this on Niki's on the lungs. Guys, you don't smoke. That's why the lungs get bad in the first place.
Yeah, I don't know what he is doing he got to the edge of the forest and really sort of kept in the center. But oh god, that's another technique. I'm fairly certain that Russian paratrooper doctrine wasn't just like SMG spam. I'm fairly certain they used other weapons too.
Well, I'll tell you what they didn't use anymore. Those IL-2s are getting slammed hard.
Oh god, yeah, the anti-air is getting pretty tight here from her Robert with those 37 mils.
I'm surprised the IAR has been retasked to take out or attack these days on Nikki. Oh no, he's going after the airplanes instead. Interesting.
Yeah.
The Russian Air Force has suffered badly today.
Yeah, and for 3rd VDV, they rely pretty heavily on their Air Force.
More smoke's going to get dropped over here on the rightmost lung. Unfortunately, at this point, they just don't have the time, I think, or even the energy, really, to kind of turn this into a viable counterattack. I feel like the Desant Nikki waves were good, but you needed to have the Maxims, even as that long-range, desultory fire, to really be effective. I think that you were right. I think you were right.
I think it's also just that it came down to the tanks. Like, the Her Robert managed to get all his vehicles out in B phase, and he outfought all of AmberT's tanks. AmberT barely has any armored vehicles now, and especially where Her Robert has managed to situate after that initial breakthrough, it's all long-range open ground. That's perfect for tanks, and he is just doing a lovely job of just maintaining, tank supremacy.
Well, and the couple of tanks that have got brought over here in C are things like these T-34s are being jammed into this town, which is not where you want to be putting tanks. You see right now, the Venatori Decade, or I'm turning into an Italian squad, these hunters over here are just able just to fire off a round or two, and then you're still trading more efficiently from a price perspective against a tank. You shouldn't be having tanks ever be anywhere close to getting taken out by infantry anti-tank materials outside of a forest.
You can kind of do it T-34s, but with 3rd VDV with just a low availability of them. It's not like 44th Guard where you're just kind of throwing in T-34 hordes, but it's gonna be a GG.
It is. And a very worthy, I think, win. Just from the Romanians, which, like I said, always surprise me with how effective their infantry is.
Yeah, I was getting a bit worried over Her Robert in A phase, as it seems like he was just kind of sitting on his hands doing nothing, but he definitely redeemed himself once B phase hit, which I guess is the Maverick Ray.
I will say the Russian Air Force, despite suffering greatly, were probably the most effective killers today, outside of this Valentine, who took out basically 3 tank destroyers and a light vehicle. Conversely, dear Mother of God, look at this infantry.
What the hell? That Venatori knocking out like a platoon?
Oh no, get to the Pioneer Assault below that.
Oh my god, he killed like a company.
Yeah, exactly. That's the company of heroes that he killed.
Oh my god, that's what it's about.
It absolutely is. And trust me, man, I have played enough Company of Heroes to tell you that that's exactly how you win. You kill all of your guys and make them heroes. The 75 mil killing a couple of troops right there. I mean, the TACOMs, the TACOMs, whatever you want to call them. A lot of these guys, very much role players, and I think they did very well for themselves. It was very skillfully done. Yeah,
I mean, the lovely cheap fire support, just like Su-76 is, and especially against 3rd VDV, if not a whole heap of heavy anti-tank, just, a barely lightly armored vehicle or a 76mm gun, it's gonna be fine.
Exactly. But regardless, again, as always, this was a very, very solid match. I was expecting 3rd VDV just to kind of spam it to victory, and I'm very pleased to see that I was incorrect, but not just because of some lucky play.
No.
I think massed well, and just really used the Romanians very, very well.
Yeah, it came down to the tanks and how Her Robert pushed the battlefield into the open ground. I mean, the town fight was going really well for AmberT. He almost pushed Her Robert completely out, but by the time you're losing the entirety of the north, it doesn't matter if you're in the town.
Exactly. But regardless, well played to both players. I can't wait to see what actually comes from more of this. Any other thoughts, sir?
No.
Folks, in that case, then, you know what it means for us. Until next time, I'm Conal Work.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.